Editor-in-chief, joins us to weigh in on these developments and more. Jonathan, what do you make of Norway's reaction to the proposed ICC arrest warrants and also joining Spain and Ireland in calling for a Palestinian state?
Well, this is part of the international campaign to delegitimize Israel, to legitimize the war against it that has been waged by Hamas and Palestinian terrorist movements. It's an outrage. It should not be allowed to stand. I think the United States, as the superpower, as the leader of NATO, has to exercise its influence. The International Criminal Court should be utterly defunded. I think the prosecutor should be sanctioned. The United States has levers at its disposal to pressure these organizations. Unfortunately, the Biden administration, though it rightly condemned the attempt to indict Netanyahu, nevertheless, it's very much in love with multilateral institutions like the UN and all of its agencies, and it's reluctant to move against them. And that's part of the problem why they feel empowered to do this. It's sort of a bizarro world where a democratic nation, which is attempting to respond to an act of egregious terror, a cross-border attack, an orgy of murder, rape, torture, kidnapping, wanton destruction, and yet we have supposedly enlightened Western countries treating the country that has been attacked and which is attempting to defend itself as being on the same moral plane as Islamist terrorists.
Well, and you say these enlightened Western, so-called enlightened Western countries, this push for a Palestinian state. So why do you think countries and even members of the Biden administration continue to push the idea when there's no commitment from both Hamas and, I might add, the Palestinian Authority to renounce their pledge to destroy Israel?
Well, for generations, the foreign policy establishment, the international community, has been obsessed with the idea that creating an independent Palestinian state is the answer to the problems of the Middle East, is the path to peace. Now, there are a couple of problems with this. Number one, the Palestinians don't want a Palestinian state if it means living alongside Israel in peace. They don't want, if they had wanted a Palestinian Arab state in that country, they could have had one 75 years ago. That was the original UN partition plan, a Jewish state, an Arab state. The response of the Arabs living in what was then called Palestine and the rest of the Arab and Muslim world was, no, thank you very much. We just want no Israel. This is a failed policy. And the fact that, it doesn't take, that they would revive it basically as a reward for terrorism. And we're rewarding Hamas for committing mass murder, the worst mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. And the international community, these countries, say, okay, what a good idea. Now let's give you what we think you want. Let's reward you with a state without even requiring you to make peace with Israel. So this is just a formula for more war, for frankly supporting the Hamas agenda of another Holocaust. This is a genocidal movement. The supposedly more moderate Palestinian Authority, which itself supports the October 7th massacres, subsidizes and supports terror. The idea that this is the moment to revive a Palestinian state, that this is a pathway to peace, not even people on the left in Israel think that makes sense. It's not just ill-advised, it's insane, unless your goal is to destroy Israel, unless you agree that one Jewish state on this planet is one too many.
I know you wrote a column this week examining the consequences of the Biden administration's policy mistakes regarding Israel and its conduct in the Gaza war, saying the administration has condemned another generation for war. Explain that, please.
Yeah. At this point, we understand that an opportunity was missed. At least I think we should understand. In the immediate aftermath of the October 7th atrocities, there was a moment when the civilized world could say, okay, Israel has to go into Gaza and just completely destroy Hamas. as much as the Allies went into Germany in 1945 and completely destroyed the Nazis and forced the German people to make a choice. Do you give up this Nazi ideology and start over? Now that your cities are rubble and that you've been completely defeated, well, they had no choice, and they did. They rejected Nazism, and they did rejoin the community of nations. Thank God. The Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere have the same, should be forced to make the same choice, because they are, as we've seen with every rejection of a peace plan and a peace offer over the decades, their sense of national identity is inextricably tied up with this war on Zionism and the existence of Israel, not where its borders should be, but whether there should be a Jewish state at all. The only way peace will happen is if there is a sea change in their political culture. October 7th gave the world an opportunity to force the Palestinians to make that choice. But we know now, after everything that has happened in the last 7 months, that opportunity has been missed. And the Palestinians are convinced they're going to go on. No matter what happens in Gaza, they're going to be convinced that the world is with them, as we've discussed, with Western nations attacking Israel, recognizing them and giving them a gift for October 7th. This means another generation of war. It didn't have to be that way, but unfortunately, that's where we are.
Okay, always insightful talking to you. Jonathan Tobin, Jewish News Syndicate, Editor-in-Chief. Thank you for being with us. God bless you.
Thank you.
Have you ever felt leg pain, restless?